Hey everyone, Shashank this side. I hope everybody is doing well and safe at home. As you can see on my screen, topic for today is Amazon EC2 Mac Instances. So how you can build Mac instances, you can do build on top of that lot of different testing and sign into multiple Apple apps on this particular platform. So mostly we'll be going to focus on the practical side of the house, like how you can create Mac instances, how you can do SSH into the Mac instances on top of AWS EC2. So before deep diving into the practical side, let's learn or let's take a look on some of the pointers what Amazon is providing to us in terms of the Mac instances. Amazon EC2 Mac instances allow customers to run on demand. Obviously, it's an on demand Mac OS workloads. Whenever you want, you can provision that functionality for you in the cloud for the first time, extending the flexibility, scalability, and cost benefit of AWS to all the developers, testers who do a lot of testing on or do a lot of builds on Mac OS workloads. With EC2 Mac instances, developers creating their apps for iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, Apple TV, Safari can be provisioned and access Mac OS environment within few minutes. It hardly takes few minutes to provision your Mac instances. Dynamically, you can scale it as per the capacity whenever required, and benefit of pay as you go model will come into picture when you work around the Mac instances within AWS world. x86 based EC2 Mac instances are built on Apple Mac mini computers featuring Intel Core i7 processor and are powered by the AWS Nitro system, which is more efficient in terms of the performance. They offer customers to choose a lot of different flavors of OS, the Mac OS, Mojave, Catalina, Big Sur, and Monterey as Amazon machine images. So these are created as part of AMIs from AWS, and on top of that, you are just taking those AMI and building your Mac instances. So yes, this is very fast as compared to what we go ahead in the market and buy the Apple MacBooks. Instead of doing that, we can provision these virtual machines on Amazon platform and use that machine to build your application, to test your application, to interact with multiple Apple apps on this particular platform. So obviously there are like a lot of benefits for using this Mac instances. One is you can quickly provision your Mac OS environment. You can quickly test your environment on the Mac OS. Reduce cost. Yes, it's a pay as you go model. So obviously whatever you are going to use, you have to pay for that. Simplifying, re-architecting, building and testing your application based on the Apple Silicon and extending your toolkits. So yes, with the help of this particular platform, the Mac instances provisioning on top of EC2 instances, it's very beneficial, very fruitful for us to give the Apple developers, the tester, to test their application and provide it to the customers. So these are the few pointers, the major pointers that what we have been given by Amazon. And now it's time for us to do a practical demo. So let's jump to our AWS Management Console. So this is my AWS Management Console. To build the environment on the Mac instances, first of all, we have to visit to EC2 dashboard. Now, as you can see, I'm into my EC2 dashboard into the AMI section directly. But if you go to the instance section, you can see I don't have any running instances or the stop instances in my Virginia region. Okay. Now, in order to provision your Mac instance, first of all, let's click on Launch Instances. Here, let's search for Mac. Okay. Now, we have a different version of OS. We have Catalina, we have Big Sur, Monterey. So whichever as per your requirement, you can select that. One thing you have to make sure, because to provision your Mac instances, we need a dedicated host. So if you remember, I have covered this already in my previous videos where on top of EC2 instance, whenever you create your VMs, it mostly by default, it goes to the shared inventory of AWS. But we have also called dedicated host, where you will get a dedicated host to host your environment. So I'm going for let's say Catalina, because I haven't used Big Sur or Monetary, so I'll use Catalina. Let's select that. This will give you the instance type, the selection of your Mac instance type. Now, as you can see, rest all the type of instances T, C, G, D series, these are grayed out. They have a specific set of instance type called Mac1.metal, which comes with 12 virtual CPUs and 32 gigs of RAM, EBS only, optimized yes, and we have a network performance of 25 gigabyte, and we have a support of IPv6 as well. So click on configure instance detail. Number of instance and everything will be going to remain same. I'm going with my VPC. You have to select your VPC instances. I don't have any jump box or something like that, a Bastion host where I can log into Bastion host and from there you can SSH into the box. So instead of that, I'm just showing you how you can connect, how you can create the instances. So click on public subnet. Now, obviously I need a public IP for this. Rest, keep it as default. Capacity reservation, domain join, we don't need to touch all these things. Now here you can see, by default, when I selected Mac, the tenancy changed to dedicated host. Even if I click on the drop down has been grayed out. Okay. Now I don't have anything created for the dedicated host. So first of all, I need to create a dedicated host over here. Okay. And this comes with an additional charge. One more thing to note, once you create a dedicated host, you cannot delete that dedicated host for the next 24 hours. I mean, that was the criteria before. Now it might have changed, but mostly till 24 hours, you cannot delete the dedicated host instances, which obviously comes with cost. You have to give cost for 24 hours if you are using it for the testing purpose. Okay. Now click on add storage. As you can see, it's not allowing me to go on the storage section because it's asking me to create a host. Obviously I don't have any dedicated host. Let's allocate a new one. Click on allocate a new host. So here we have to give few of the information, just like fill out the information of the detail what exactly you are looking for. So let's give this as Mac demo, the name basically. I'll use the lowercase. Wherever in AWS I try to follow the same naming conventions across the environment, I generally use a lowercase for my clients as well. So since we are dealing with Mac, so obviously I will go with Mac 1 instance type. Support multiple instances, it's grayed out. Instance type, by default we are getting Mac1.metal, and then availability zone. Instance auto replacement, so you can disable the auto replacement, that will preserve the dedicated host for you. But let's click on this. Let's check the host recovery as well. Quantity 1, I don't want multiple Mac machine for me. So click on allocate. Mac1.metal doesn't support the host recovery. Okay, let's uncheck that. Click allocate. Okay, the number of dedicated hosts you have requested 1 would bring up your total to 1 for the specified group instance type Mac. This exceeds the current limit of 0. If you have recently released this, I haven't created actually any Mac dedicated host for me. This is first time also I'm doing for you guys, so that I also understand what exactly how this looks like based upon the documentation. But as per this error, it's showing me that I have released one of the dedicated hosts, which I haven't done. Okay, so basically the error that what we received while creating a dedicated host is I don't have any environment for dedicated host, which means I don't have any dedicated host into Virginia for my account. So if you see, the number of dedicated hosts you requested is 1. Now the exceed the current limit of 0, which means I was not having the dedicated host into my Virginia account. Okay, AWS account basically. Ultimately what I had to do, I had to open a support case with AWS team, the service team. Basically I asked them, hey, I don't have a dedicated host, just assign one dedicated host into my environment, especially into Virginia, Northern Virginia. It took almost nearby 2 hours for service team to release that particular one dedicated host into my account. Now if I go to limit section of my AWS management console, Go to the second page. If you see, the Mac 1 dedicated host has been changed from 0 to 1. Earlier it was 0 when I was raising the request with support. Now, since we already have this dedicated host into Virginia, let's go to dedicated host and spin up 1. Again, let's give Mac demo. I follow the lowercase. And since we are dealing with Mac, then instance family has to be Mac. Support multiple instance type is grayed out. We have Mac 1 Metal, which is basically 12 virtual CPU and 32 gigs of memory. Availability zone 1A. Host recovery is not supported with Mac 1 instances. Instance auto placement. Disabling auto placement will preserve the dedicated host for the target launch request. So you can enable it, you can leave it as disabled, depend upon your requirement. So let's enable it and click on allocate. So as you can see, my dedicated host with Mac demo is already created. It's available. You can see the virtual CPU is 12, nothing used, and it is Mac1.metal. Okay. So all your information, like who is the owner, how many physical cores are there, how many sockets, virtual CPUs, everything is listed over here. Even, let me close this out. If you see running instances, I don't have any running instances because we just have reserved one of the dedicated hosts. Now we have to go back to our instance, click on launch instance. Now search for Mac, and I'm going with Catalina. Then obviously it will show me the Mac1.metal instance type, the family itself, which is only supported for the Mac instances. Click on configure detail, select your VPC, select your subnet, which should be for me here. I am going to enable the public subnet. Again, I'm choosing public subnet because I don't have any passion host or a jump box from where I can connect to SSH to this particular Mac instance. So that's why I'm just showing you how you can connect to your Mac instance once you provision your Mac instance on a dedicated host. Okay. So don't get confused with the public zone and a private zone. Here, obviously, I will be going to select, yeah, that's not required. Depend upon the requirement. If you want to access your S3 bucket from your Mac instance, then choose your IAM role. Tenancy is dedicated host. Now, if you click on the host over here, you can choose the one which has been created. Affinity based upon the host, or if you want to disable it, you can do that. If you click on this information bar, affinity creates a persistent relationship between an instance and a dedicated host. So that's why if you click a host, it will create a dedicated interface instance between these two, host and your EC2 instance. Default setting is always off. Okay, so I'm clicking on host affinity. Now rest of the settings needs to be remain same. Click on add storage. Based upon whatever storage you want to do, you can go for that. Now based upon the performance that I have been doing for one of my client in terms of the storage, GP3, the general purpose SSD GP3 volumes are 20% cheaper than GP2, and the performance is much better than GP2. So I prefer you guys to go with GP3 volumes, whether you are using normal VMs with EC2 instances or a dedicated host. Try to make it more performant effective environment for your company and more cost effective. Click on add tags, and I'm going to name this as Mac demo. Configure security group. So by default, generally if you create any Linux based instances, by default you will see that port 22, the SSH port, gets opened, or you will get an option over here where SSH port is shown like it's open from all across the world by default, right? But in this case you have to open 22 port from your certain IP address or from whatever the firewall listing is there, right? I already have a security group created. Let me see. Okay, so you know what? Let's create a new one. Mac SG. Okay. and it has to be a lowercase. Again, I follow that convention across my environment, so that's why. Port 22, I'm going to open this from my IP address. Review and launch and select your key, acknowledge, click on launch instance. Okay, now if you click on this instance, this will take bit of time to spin up, like mostly within minute or minute and a half, you will be able to SSH into the box, right? Now, again, remember, since you have created a dedicated host, it will take 24 hours for you to delete. Till 24 hours, if you are using it, then you will be going to pay for that. But if you stop the instance, and if you're releasing that dedicated host from your environment, then you will be able to do it after 24 hours. That was the criteria created by AWS in past. But again, if something has been enhanced, please comment out in the comment section so that I can also learn few things from you guys. But in general, what I know, 24 hours, you cannot delete the dedicated host instances. Okay, you can stop it. So it's kind of a pay-as-you-go model. Okay. Now, in order to SSH into the box, it's a simple funda. You have to click on connect. Here you will get all the options: EC2, Instance Connect, then Sessions Manager. If you have SSM installed on it, you can go with the serial console. Let's see, do we have serial console support? Instance must be built on the Nitro type instances. Okay, so as per what I remember, as per the documentation, the Mac instance is a Nitro based instance. So once this is up, you should be able to do EC2 serial console access as well. But for this particular video, we are more focused towards doing SSH into this box, into this Linux or Mac instance basically. So let's open up a new terminal. Let me maximize it. I hope this should be visible to all. My keys are in CD downloads archive folder. Now if I try to do SSH, let's see. Close this. Let's see. Generally, the Linux instances are fast to do SSH as compared to Windows. Mac, as I said, it takes time to do SSH into that box. So as you can see, it's taking time. So still the backend is not provisioned yet. So let's see something. Go to the instance, click on actions, monitor troubleshoot, get the system log. Yeah, it's still doing something in the backend which we cannot see as of now. So we just have to wait, right? Still stuck. Okay, I'm going to have this video pause. Once this gets connected, I'll resume it back so that you guys can also take a look onto the Mac instance. Okay. So finally, I was able to do SSH into this macOS instance. As you can see, it's macOS Catalina 10.15.7. The AMI we took from Marketplace. I tried a couple of times. It took somewhere around 3.5 minutes to bring up the SSH session. Once you are into this box, then you can pretty much perform all sorts of operation. You can build your application related to macOS. You can perform sorts of testing related to macOS workloads basically. So yeah, pretty much everything can be done over this machine now. This is part one of the video where we learned about what exactly macOS provided by Amazon Web Services on top of dedicated host, how you can provision your macOS, and what kind of instance type we are getting from Amazon, like 12 virtual CPUs, 32 gigs of RAM, and all sorts of operation that we perform on this video. The next video I'm coming up with is like how you can access the GUI, the graphical user interface for macOS. So just play around with this environment, try to provision a dedicated host. If there is no dedicated host into your account, then raise a support request. They will assign one dedicated host into your account. So just reminder for you guys, if you are playing with your dedicated host, make sure if it is a development environment, make sure you request only one just to reduce the costing factor. Once you're done with testing, building application, once you're familiar with this, then you can show it to your management. Hey, we can perform all sorts of operation on this Mac instance within AWS. Why can't we go for this particular logic, right? which is easy, flexible, and scalable infrastructure for us for testing purpose, right? So yeah, uh, place out a comment in comment section if you're facing any issue. I'll be there to help you, and see you in next video. Have a nice day. Bye bye.